Is it important for Christians to have reasons for what they believe, or can they just simply trust God?
What if I said both and? There's the majority of Christians, I would, admit, the majority of Christians aren't interested in apologetics, and many of them, I'd say in my experience, that group would be largely female. But there's a lot of males in that group too. It might be, what I'm saying is, it might be a gender personality thing, I don't know. But some people just don't need evidences. And the way I hear it expressed is, yeah, well, when we have that Easter lecture every year, or when you came to our church and did evidences, I'm happy for that. And I walked out and I thought, man, our faith is strong. But if you're thinking that means I just went up from 89% believing to 96% believing, no, it doesn't work like that. I already believe. I said I do to my husband, or I said I do to my wife, and that involves a life of commitment. I committed my life to Jesus a long time ago. And just like in marriage, you might feel better one day and less the next day, especially if you're sick or something just happened. But yeah, those numbers fluctuate, but you're still just as committed. That's how I am with Christianity. I hear that a lot. I believe, but it's good to hear this stuff. All right, that's common. And I think, but a lot of people need the evidences, because after all, like I said, that's what people ask me to speak about. So my comment is, this is very close to what Jesus said. In at least two places that I can think of in the New Testament, both in the Gospel of John, but there's other passages like this elsewhere. In John chapter 10 and in John chapter 14, Jesus said, either believe me for my word's sake, or believe me for my works' sake. And in John and other places, works frequently means, or does mean here, miracles. And so I think what Jesus is saying is, the Gospels say that he was a very captivating, knowledgeable, impressive speaker. And I think he preferred that people believed in him because they took him at his word, because they realized who he was, because they sensed he had authority. And all of us want to be taken seriously for who we are. So that's impressive. But Jesus adds, if you don't believe me for my word's sake, believe me for my work's sake. Maybe those who believe because of miracles, there's a lot of examples. John the Baptist in the Gospels. How about, quote unquote, doubting Thomas? How about when the women come and tell the disciples they saw the empty tomb, and it says the disciples didn't believe in them? They thought they were spreading, in Luke, they thought they were spreading idle tales. There's plenty of questioning even among Christians. And Jesus said, well, you know what? There's evidence for you too. So I've got to think to myself that Jesus probably prefers the former, just take me at my word. But the latter, he tells the disciples, handle me and see, and do you have anything to eat? When he appeared, the women held him by the feet, probably not because they needed evidence, it's probably because they were excited. But Jesus allowed that too. So I really do think it's different strokes for different folks. You think of 1 Corinthians 9, where Paul says, to those who are under the law, I become under the law. To those who are apart from the law, I'm apart from the law. And he did witness to Greeks differently than he witnessed to Jews. He might use the Old Testament with Jews, but and sometimes he used the evidence of creation or the resurrection with Greeks. So he said, by all means, if by any approach I might lead them to Christ, that's clearly Paul, and I think it's what Jesus had in mind, either for my word's sake or for my work's sake. I think it works both ways.